This week on the Wildlife Biology for Kids Club, we're going to continue to learn about pollinators, take a deep dive into who does the pollinating, talk about some of the typical pollinators like bees, and then I'm going to talk a lot about pollinators that people don't normally think of. You're going to be amazed by how many different kinds of animals are pollinators. I'm Dr. Stephanie Manka, a wildlife biologist of 20 years who's on a mission to get people outside, connected to nature, making discoveries, getting curious so that they can learn more about the plants and animals around them in addition to themselves. This video is part of my Wildlife Biology for Kids Club program to get parents and their kids outside. When you implement these practices, you are going to benefit mentally, physically, and emotionally, as well as help the plants and animals around you. Let's begin. When you hear the word pollinator, a lot of people think of the honeybee. This is the species of bee that has been brought over to North America because it produces honey. And we don't want to focus on this bee for several reasons. In previous videos, I stressed the importance of native plants. And because honeybees are from another area, they have not co-evolved with our native plants here. Therefore, they're not great pollinators. It's not uncommon for honeybees to visit a flower, forage on its nectar, and not pollinate. So many people have added honeybee colonies, and this has added competition for native species. A single hive can include up to 50,000 individuals, and if all these bees are visiting flowers and taking their nectar, this means less nectar is available for our native bee species. There is so much diversity in pollinators. For native bees alone, there are approximately 4,000 species in the United States. Bees have specialized hair all over their body that allows them to pick up and carry pollen from flower to flower. They're the heavy lifters of pollinators. Bumblebees, which are larger and heavier bees, will actually shake pollen loose given their body size. I just started walking and I already saw one cool pollinator we're going to talk about today. Butterflies. Butterflies have a long proboscis or a nose kind of feature that allows them to go into flowers and collect the nectar. Butterflies are gorgeous and people definitely want them around. Finally, another pollinator that people typically think of are birds, especially hummingbirds. Hummingbirds look similar to butterflies in that they have a large beak instead of a proboscis, but this allows them to get the nectar deep inside the flower. Hummingbirds are the bird that we think of most when it comes to pollination, but there are many species that are pollinators. Let's talk about some of the more unconventional pollinators. We talked about butterflies, but their counterparts, moths, are actually more important pollinators than butterflies. They outnumber butterflies 10 to 1 when it comes to pollination. A lot of flowers produce sweet scents at night, and this attracts moths. Later, I'm going to show you an activity that allows you to see moths up close. Our next pollinator are beetles. There's evidence that beetles began pollinating about 99 million years ago. Beetles are called mess and soil pollinators because they're messy. They just blunder through flowers on their way to search for a mate or food, and they kind of do pollination accidentally. Another important group of pollinators are flies. When we think of flies, we think of them as being attracted to foul-smelling things, like poop. Well, there are some flowers that have really putrid smells, and these attract flies, which pollinate them. Our next group is definitely one that is going to be underappreciated, and these are wasps. There are over 103,000 species. I did not know this. That is amazing. And they don't all sting. So even if you do see a stinging species, just avoid them, let them pollinate, and we can live alongside them peacefully. To round out our insect pollinators, we have ants. And actually my favorite flower, peonies, are pollinated by ants. We talked about insects as pollinators, but did you know that vertebrates, animals with a backbone, can be pollinators too? These animals have incredible implications. One study was able to exclude larger animals but let insects through. They found a 63% drop in seed and fruit production just from the exclusion of these larger animals. So who are these pollinators? First, we have reptiles, including lizards and geckos. These guys can get into flowers and pollinate them. pollen. As I'm walking, I'm hearing another important group of pollinators, birds. There are 920 species of birds worldwide that contribute to pollination. Birds are especially important on islands where they make up to 10% of the overall pollination services. Finally, let's talk about my favorite mammals. I have always known about bats as pollinators, and if you love tequila, then you've got to love bats. There are two species of bats which pollinate the blue agave plant, which is responsible for tequila. Small animals like mice, possums, and squirrels are pollinators, and then primates are pollinators. The ruffed lemur in Madagascar was formerly the largest pollinator, but new research found a new animal. The Ethiopian wolf, a carnivore, was recently found to be a pollinator. Scientists observed it rubbing up against a flower and getting pollen on its nose. Scientists are continually discovering that there is always more to be found out about our natural world. I'm going to challenge you to find some flowers and watch them for a while and see how many different pollinators show up. Use iNaturalist to help you. Focus on a single flower and watch it for at least 10 minutes and see how many different kinds of pollinators show up. Or you can choose an area and scope out different flowers and see how many different kinds of pollinators you can find. On this walk, I've seen birds, ants, butterflies, and bees for sure. There are tons of pollinators all around us. Next week, we're going to learn about the special relationship that pollinators have with their native plant species. There are so many species that have evolved a really special relationship where only one kind of pollinator can pollinate the plant. To get the step-by-step activity guides, questions, and worksheets that go along with this video, make sure to enroll in the Wildlife Biology for Kids Club. You'll get the chance to join a community of other parents who are excited to get their kids outdoors, connect with them, and me, a real wildlife biologist. Once you start going outside, you're going to find that your child is so curious about the natural world and that there is so much out there to discover.